Good morning, Lakers. Today is Monday, November 23rd.
This is your Laker update. As Michigan goes into their second full lockdown, the holiday season may not be shared with all the people you love. On Sunday, November 15th, Governor Gretchen Whitmer announced that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has issued a 3-week pause in order to limit indoor social gatherings. On November 13th, Michigan reached a high of 9,099 coronavirus cases in a single day. New restrictions include no high school sports, no indoor dining, as well as having all college and high school classes moved to online instruction for the 3-week duration.
When these new COVID precautions were implemented, not all fall sports had completed their season. The MHSAA will do its best to reschedule the final tournaments, meets, and games. Additionally, winter sports that have already begun will not be able to resume their practices until the emergency order is lifted. The order is expected to expire on December 9th. In March, COVID-19 took over the lives of millions of Americans. After the nationwide lockdown, schools had moved to a virtual environment. Almost 9 months after the lockdown, many schools are still virtual. Laker Update reporter Austin Wheeler is here with the transition from in-person to online school.
March 16th, we had to go online with a day of planning of how school will work for the rest of the year. Now with a new way of learning online with new resources, I talked to our fellow students to see what they think of the new changes.
When the school year first started, I thought it was quite difficult because of how complicated the system on Canvas was compared to Google Classroom. But right now, I think since all of us are starting to get used to it, it's not that bad.
The advantage is that people and students are able to collab with each other from home, and it's easier on their time schedules instead of going to school.
If I have to be honest, I didn't find that many advantages with this method compared to Google Classroom, since a lot of the utilizations and a lot of the tools that are on Canvas can also be found on Google Classroom. So honestly, not too many. They're both very similar.
I think that Canvas and Zoom calls during WB school can be improved by having students keep their cameras on for as much as they can. And if you don't feel comfortable, it's okay. No one is going to judge you. We really just think that you should keep your cameras on because students and teachers would like to see each other, you know?
This is Austin Wheeler reporting for your live Laker update.
As cases continue to rise at a rapid rate, the hopes of returning back to in-person school are dwindling. Reporter Brendan Moran has the inside scoop.
The semester change is coming very quick, and today I reached out to some WBHS students to see if we should stay online or go to in-school learning.
Hi, I'm Noah Sternberg, and I really think we should go back to school next semester because the education we're getting now in online school is not adequate and is not a good use of our tax dollars. It's not nearly as good. I don't learn nearly as much as I would do in school, and I don't have a connection with my teacher to ask the teacher stuff. Like the seminar is only an hour. I don't have the chance to communicate with the teacher, and I don't learn. There's not enough time in the Zoom classes either. We learn a little bit in Zoom classes, and then most of it's from homework. We need more time for that, and I think in person would be way more adequate and better.
I believe we should go back to the school for the second semester because a lot of people have trouble learning online.
While a lot agree that students should go back into in-person learning, not everyone does agree.
So, in my opinion, if we should go back to school next semester is I think we shouldn't, because if we do, we're already so deep into online school that going back, there wouldn't really be a point because there's so much different. It's so different in online versus in school, and I feel like we have learned a lot less online than in school, and the change will cause a lot of people's grades to go down, and I don't want that to happen to me.
Will we stay online or end up going back into school? I guess we'll just have to wait for the semester change to see what happens.
During the first lockdown, many were unprepared with longevity of not being able to see friends and remaining in isolation. And that is when boredom set in. Ryan Shippey has more on how students can defeat the quarantine blues.
Uncertainty, when we're all stuck in our homes left to do nothing, many of us students have been looking for new interesting ways to occupy ourselves with hobbies like biking or cooking. On the virtual side of things, students have been looking for new video games to play, new social media apps to use, such as TikTok and Twitter. Students have also started re-binge watching shows, both new and old. Shows like The Tiger King and Outer Banks that were super popular when they first came out are now being rewatched again. With all this stuff going on, it has become harder for students to communicate with their friends frequently, and that can have an impact on the way students act.
Wanted to be connected but didn't really know how at the beginning, and then the more Zooming we did, the more those kinds of things, the less interesting it became and the less they wanted to be involved in it. And definitely seeing grades drop off a bit again, because learning from home is so much differently. Even though there's teachers, it's different when you're having to do a lot of the learning on your own. So yeah, definitely saw a drop in both. So I know social media is a big, big deal for most of the high school students right now, right? Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, things like that, which is great. The hard part about those in terms of the socializing piece is it's very passive. It's very observing, right? You're observing what other people are posting, and then maybe you're reacting to it, but it's not the same as having actual conversations. To me, I think probably one of the things that I would recommend, and one of the things that I learned in college was really, really useful, was setting up study groups with friends. And doing like Zoom study groups, which I know doing another Zoom meeting is probably the last thing everyone wants to do, but getting a chance to do schoolwork together creates an opportunity, one, to kind of keep working on that schoolwork, which I know everyone's struggling to get done, but makes it more of a social thing and gives you a chance to bounce questions off of each other and talk about things in the way that we were doing when we were in person. I think setting up study groups is a really good starting point.
It's a hard time for all of us, and if you need help, please talk to a trusted friend or an adult. This is Ryan Shippey reporting for Laker Update.
Many found relief from boredom with video games. Several new games were announced during this time. Nintendo Switch games were often out of stock.
This is Pearson Horn reporting for Laker Update, and today we have an interview with one of our own about games to play while in quarantine. Here is WB Junior Shane Gastaris elaborating on games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Among Us and how they get him through this pandemic. How did Grand Theft Auto affect you over quarantine, and what are your opinions on the game in its entirety?
I like that game a lot because I played it a lot with my friends, and it's really fun to play with your friends. And I like driving and flying planes and boats and all these other cars and vehicles. And skydiving is fun in it, swimming, running, running around, just doing whatever you want. And driving fast cars. That's what I do the most, is drive around fast cars.
A game that gained popularity during the pandemic was Among Us. How did that game affect you?
Yeah, I played Among Us a lot with my friends. We would get on a call and just talk about it and team up and try to win the game. And I like mystery games like that, being the detective, trying to figure out who it is, and being the imposter and trying to go around and win the game.
Thank you for tuning in to Laker Update. Stay tuned for more updates about student life in the West Bloomfield community.
The heated 2020 presidential election has come to an end. Election projections have been indicted, and 46th President of the United States will be Joe Biden, and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, the first woman and person of color Vice President. Kamala is a lesser-known name, although she has been senator since 2017.
Kamala Harris is the first woman VP to be elected in office. So if you will watch the next few clips, you will see everything about her.
I was raised to take action. My mother knew that she was raising two black daughters who would be treated differently because of how they looked. Growing up, whenever I got upset about something, my mother would look me in the eye and ask, "So what are you going to do about it?" That's why, when I saw a broken justice system, I became a lawyer to try and fix it. It's why, during the foreclosure crisis, I took on the big banks as California's Attorney General. It's why, as United States Senator, I have fought to represent people like my mother, people who politicians often overlook or don't take seriously. Right now, America needs action.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourselves in a way that others may not, simply because they've never seen it before. But know that we will applaud you every step of the way.
Kamala Harris has motivated other young girls that no matter what race, gender, or sex that they are able to follow their dreams and pursue them.
As students, many of us would not have the opportunity to vote yet. Although we study the election process, it can sometimes be baffling. Anthony DeZuba is here to explain the results and everything that has happened.
The 2020 presidential election is finally over, with the winner being the Democratic nominee, Joe Biden. So let's have a recap of the build-up to this election. In the beginning, there were 29 Democratic nominees in the running to become president. Some of the more notable candidates were Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Michael Bloomberg, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, Bill de Blasio, Beto O'Rourke, Andrew Yang, and Amy Klobuchar, just to name a few. O'Rourke and de Blasio withdrew from the campaign without appearing on the ballots for the primary in the fall of 2019. Harris and Booker ended their campaign in the winter of 2019 to 2020. The rest of the candidates withdrew during the primaries in the spring of 2020, with Joe Biden being the final candidate and going on to become president.
At long last, daylight saving time has started, but with the clock springing back, it uncovered questions about if we really need it. Laker Update reporter Isaac Pratt is here to answer your burning questions.
Some people think that we should stay on daylight savings all year round. This would make it get dark later in the day. We're going to interview some people and see if they think we should stay on daylight savings all year round. For some people who have seasonal depression, this will also affect it. Even though it's not seasonal, when it gets dark earlier in the day, when they get home from work or school and they come home and it's already dark, we'll now be interviewing Josh Turkis, an 11th grader. How has being off of daylight savings affected you so far?
Daylight savings is kind of an issue in a sense where I kind of like have a different schedule compared to many other people, and so I want to, like, say me as a high schooler, I like to sleep like later in the day, and when I see it's like light outside, it kind of puts off my schedule towards like 12, 1 o'clock, and it kind of like I wake up early and I can't get my sleep that I need.
Would you rather be on daylight savings year round, and why?
Yeah, I would love to be on daylight savings year round because it's really beneficial to my schedule, me as a high schooler, like going to sleep at a later time. I kind of see how it's dark outside and I like to like stay up a little bit to like, it probably changes my schedule towards like, instead of going from 12 to 1, it goes down to like 9 to 10, so I could get my full 8 to 10 hours of sleep.
What do you think? Do you think we should stay on daylight savings all year round?
As the COVID pandemic took the world by storm, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics have been postponed by the International Olympic Committee. They have been rescheduled for 2021 from July 23rd to August 8th.
As we head into another lockdown, Quarantine hair may be making a comeback. Laker Update recently conducted an Instagram poll asking students whether or not they tried a new look in the past few months. Results showed that 44% of the 213 participants tried something new on their hair. Results included DIY bangs, bleach, buzz cut, or homemade layers. 78% of those who made a change reported loving their new look, while the other 22% didn't necessarily enjoy their new style. If you are trying a new style during this 3-week lockdown, tag us in your post. We would love to see it. Thank you for watching this special edition of Laker Update.
You can connect with us on Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, WBSpectrum.com, or LakerUpdate.com.
Have a great break, Lakers. Stay connected.